On to other news now. The Constitutional Court will this morning hand down judgment in the application to have its earlier decision to sentence former President Jacob Zuma to 15 months in jail for contempt of court rescinded. Zuma wanted the apex court to overturn its earlier judgment, arguing that his rights were violated as incarceration did not follow a criminal case. Zuma's contempt of court conviction and sentence stemmed from his defiance of the Constitutional Court order to continue to appear before the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture. Representing the former president in his rescission case, Advocate Talimpofu had argued that his client is the only prisoner in the country who was jailed without trial. Zuma is currently on medical parole after serving 2 months of his sentence. Let's bring in Samkele Maseko, who's been following up on this story to give us a sense of what today is all about and what's expected in the ruling. A very good morning to you, Samkele. Thank you so much for joining us now. Get us up to speed on this case. How did the former president get to this point?
Essentially, the former president got to this point, Simpiwe, when his legal team, led by Advocate Talimpofu, descended upon Nkandla. You'd remember that weekend when the former president was meant to hand himself over to the law enforcement agencies, where he ended up not handing himself over. An urgent application was then brought forward by his legal team led by Advocate Talimpofu, who did come down to Nkandla with the other lawyers, like 2 senior attorneys based in Vryheid of former President Jacob Zuma. They went to speak to him. He subsequently went to hand himself over, or was held in custody at his home in Nkandla, and then went towards the Concourt police station and subsequently went to the Escort Correctional Services facility. Advocate Mpofu came forth and came to this apex court in the land to have the rescission application heard of former President Jacob Zuma. There were those whom are dubbed as constitutional law experts, whom had predicted that the Constitutional Court would not even hear this frivolous application and waste of time by Advocate Talimpofu to the Constitutional Court. They were proven wrong when the Concourt set down a date for this particular hearing and to ventilate these particular matters of the former president. And you had the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, represented by Senior Counsel Advocate Thembeka Ngcukaitobi, on this rescission application. But as Simpiwe, this issue of the rescission application in now judgment, which will be heard today here at the Constitutional Court, we do know that the former president is currently out on medical parole and is currently hospitalized in a private hospital in Pretoria, Tshwane. And we do know that that medical parole, which he was granted, is also being legally reviewed by the Democratic Alliance. So that legal review of the parole will subsequently, should the incarceration of the former president be rescinded, it would basically mean that they may fall away. But if the rescission application is dismissed by the Constitutional Court, it would mean that that review of the parole of the former president continues. But as my colleague Sia shows you, there is a heavy police presence here at the Constitutional Court. You can see that certain parts of Constitutional Hill leading up to Constitutional Court have been barricaded. We're just going to move across as well, just to show you the heavy police presence that has been deployed here at the Constitutional Court and the Constitutional Hill parameters, as we saw a number of JMPD officers also patrolling the area. We've seen a nyala of JMPD, 2 of them around this Constitutional Hill precinct, and also we've seen about 3 SAPS police inyalas in the area as well, and a whole lot of contingents of police officers who belong to public order policing. They may be anticipating that those who are in support of the former president, who've been going towards his court appearances at the Pietermaritzburg Regional High Court and also at the High Court in Durban, that the former president has been attending to, they may have felt, the police officers, that those particular individuals, like Carl Niehaus, may have made their way to the Constitutional Court to hear this rescission application of the former president, the likes of Nkosenhle Shezi as well. But that judgment will be delivered today, this morning at 10 o'clock, where the Constitutional Court will deliver that judgment. Just to show you the visuals At the backdrop, you can see the police in Nyala of public order policing. You can see that there is a stationary movable office that they've also got here at the Constitutional Court. You can see the police vehicles here as well. On the left-hand side, where my colleague will show the deployment of JMPD officers around this Constitutional Court as well, which shows you the veracity of this particular court application and the implications it may have, particularly looking at the July unrest that happened in the country with the incarceration of former President Jacob Zuma, the shops that were looted, the trucks that were burnt on the N3 in Moy River.
Now, Samkele, should, for argument's sake, this imprisonment of former President Jacob Zuma rescinded by the Constitutional Court, how much of an impact would it have in terms of eroding the integrity of the Constitutional Court? Because I suppose that so many people have been found wanting, found guilty of some offense, and they decide not to follow or abide by the orders of the Constitutional Court. I mean, this clearly means that there will be no punitive action for those who decide to do so. So how much of an impact would it have in terms of the integrity of the Constitutional Court?
What is pretty clear is that former President Jacob Zuma is testing the judiciary of the Republic of South Africa. He's stretching it to its limit for the benefit of many South Africans. He may be fighting for his own political and own survival, but it also entrenches the rule of law. It also threatens the judiciary. It also says that the jurisprudence of this country is being tested. I saw a tweet earlier on, others saying that this judgment may go the adverse way for the former president, but it will benefit many others in future who may have judgments put against them or delivered against them by the Constitutional Court. It is for the first time that we have seen Advocate Dalimpofu pull this particular legal precedent when it comes to the Constitutional Court in trying to rescind a judgment that has been made by this apex court. You saw people like Lawson Naidu of KESAC. They had come out and said that chances are very minimal that the Constitutional Court will even entertain what they had dubbed at that point in time a frivolous application and a total waste of time by the former president and by his legal team in trying to rescind that particular application. They had said that that particular matter would not be entertained. Then boom, the Constitutional Court came out and said, we will actually hear this rescission application that you have brought forth. It was ventilated and we're here today. And it also says in future, should there be an adverse judgment against Samkele Maseko, against Simpiwe, against Mzwandile Mbeje, against Sophie Mukwena, against any other individual in the country, they would then be enabled to try and have an application brought forth to the Constitutional Court to try and rescind that particular judgment. So this particular legal case of former President Jacob Zuma has taught many people about the inner workings of the Constitutional Court, and this particular clause of the Constitutional Court Act, which speaks about a rescission application.
All right, I suppose then that whatever the ruling today at the Constitutional Court will be very pivotal for the country's judiciary. Now, Samkele Maseko, I'm going to let you go for now. Thank you so much for that update. We'll touch base with you a little later on.